We have AI, self-driving cars, missions to Mars, anti-discrimination laws, diversity training, and yet it exists. Every single day. You'd think we'd be past this. We're not. Today, I'm going to show you why racism still exists. And I promise, the answer is more uncomfortable than you think. Let's go. Chapter 1. The Tribal Brain. Meet Marcus. He's 28. Software engineer at a tech startup. First day at the office. He walks in wearing a hoodie and jeans. Security stops him. "Can I help you? Are you here for a delivery?" Marcus's coworker walks in right after him. Also in a hoodie. Nobody stops him. Marcus shows his employee badge. The guard is embarrassed. "Oh, sorry, but it wasn't a mistake. It was an assumption." Psychologist Dr. Jennifer Eberhard studied this in Biased. Your brain categorizes people instantly. Friend or threat? Us or them? For 200,000 years, humans survived by forming tribes. Your tribe was safe. Other tribes were dangerous. That instinct is still wired into your brain. When the guard saw Marcus, his brain didn't think employee. It thought other. And other feels like threat. This isn't conscious. It's automatic. The guard isn't evil. His brain is doing what brains evolved to do. But evolution doesn't care about fairness. And that survival instinct is why racism persists. Chapter 2. The system that protects itself. But it's not just biology. It's economics. Meet Sarah and Jamal. Both applying for the same apartment. Same credit. Same job. The landlord looks at Sarah's application. Sarah Johnson calls her immediately. Jamal Washington applies. No call. No response. He calls. "I'm sorry, that unit was just rented." 2 hours later, Sarah gets approved. Researchers Marianne Bertrand and Sendhil Mullainathan studied this. They sent identical resumes to employers. Only difference: names. Emily and Greg got 50% more callbacks than Lakeisha and Jamal, same qualifications. Different outcomes. Why? Because systems preserve power. Landlords and hiring managers give opportunities to people who look like them. People who feel safe, who fit the pattern. Jamal doesn't fit that pattern. So he's denied. Sociologist Eduardo Bonilla Silva calls this racism without racists. Nobody says, "I hate such people," but the outcomes are the same. Denial after denial. Barrier after barrier. The system doesn't need hate. It just needs inertia. Chapter 3. The Comfort of Superiority. Here's the darkest truth. Racism persists because it serves a psychological function. Meet Jennifer. Middle class. Struggling financially. Works 2 jobs. Can barely pay rent. Feels like a failure. Then she sees a news story. An immigrant family on welfare. And she thinks, at least I'm not like them. At least I work for my money. That thought gives her comfort. A sense of superiority. Psychologist Dr. John Dovidio studied this phenomenon. When people feel threatened, they cling to group identity. I may be struggling, but at least I'm not, insert minority group. This is why racism spikes during economic downturns. When resources are scarce, people look for someone to feel superior to. Jennifer doesn't hate immigrants. But looking down on them makes her feel less worthless. It's a psychological crutch. And as long as people need that crutch, racism will exist. Because dismantling racism means giving up that comfort. Chapter 4. The fear of loss. Racism also persists because of fear. Meet David. He's 45, factory worker in Ohio. His town used to be thriving. Now the factory is closing. Jobs are disappearing. A politician tells him, "Immigrants are taking your jobs." David's scared. Angry. Desperate. He doesn't know any immigrants personally. But he's willing to believe they're the problem. Because it's easier than admitting the truth, corporations shipped his job overseas for profit. But he can't fight a corporation. He can fight the other. Racism thrives on misdirection. Powerful people point at minorities and say, "They're why you're suffering," and struggling people believe it. David's anger is valid. His life is falling apart. But his anger is aimed at the wrong target. And as long as the powerful can redirect rage toward minorities, racism will survive. Chapter 5. The exhaustion of speaking up, and here's why it never ends. The people experiencing racism are tired of explaining it. Meet Keisha. She's 32. She is a lawyer. A white colleague says, "You're so articulate." Keisha smiles. Inside, she's screaming. "Why wouldn't I be? I went to Harvard Law." But she doesn't say that. Because if she does, she's aggressive. Later, another colleague touches her hair without asking. "Wow, it's so different." Keisha pulls away. Forced is a smile. Inside, she's furious. "I'm not a zoo animal. This happens every week." Microaggressions. Psychologist Dr. Daryl Wing Su writes about this in Microaggressions in Everyday Life. Racism isn't always burning crosses. It's 1,000 tiny indignities. And the burden is always on the victim to prove it. Explain it. Justify their pain. Keisha is exhausted. From experiencing it. From explaining it. From being doubted. So she stops speaking up. Not because racism ended. But because resistance is exhausting. And that silence lets racism continue. Here's why racism still exists today. Your brain is wired for tribalism. Us versus them is survival instinct. Systems preserve power. And power stays with those who already have it. People cling to racism because it gives them psychological comfort when they feel worthless. Fear is weaponized. The powerful blame minorities to divide the working class. And the people experiencing racism are too exhausted to keep fighting. Racism doesn't persist because people are evil. It persists because it's embedded. In our brains. In our systems. Ending it requires more than good intentions. It requires dismantling systems. Confronting biases. Redistributing power. And admitting, we've all participated. Consciously or not. If you experience racism, your exhaustion is valid. Your anger is justified. If you don't, listen. Examine your assumptions. Use your privilege to challenge the system. Because racism won't end by ignoring it. It ends when enough people decide it's no longer acceptable. So tell me, what's your experience with this? Drop a comment. If this video resonated with you, consider subscribing, and take a look at what we're exploring next.